What's up, everybody? Damon here with Ryan McCaffrey, and we're just chatting about his bombshell scoop that he posted on IGN today. You may have heard the news by now, but Phil Spencer is retiring from Xbox effective Monday, February 23rd. Phil Spencer will no longer be leading Xbox, and that's not all. Xbox president Sarah Bond is not taking his place. She's actually resigning. Matt Booty is being promoted to chief content officer, and then a newcomer to the gaming space, Asha Sharma, is becoming the new head of Xbox. She's currently the president of Microsoft's Core AI product. So somebody completely new is coming in to take the reins of Xbox. There's a lot to dig in here. So Ryan, just give us your sort of bird's eye take on this whole situation.
Well, the first thing, when I learned of this from reliable sources, my jaw was pretty well on the floor. Like, Damon, we're lucky enough we get to do this for a living. This is a huge story. Now, you might say, well, there's been rumors of Phil retiring for a while, and that's true. But for him to end up stepping down right before, just months before the 25th anniversary of the brand, he's been there the whole time. That's sentimentally, that's a little bit of a bummer. And then certainly the fact that most gamers, myself very much included here, don't really know anything about Asha Sharma other than that she was the COO of Instacart, and she was a VP of AI over at Meta, and she's been, as you noted, Damon, working on the Core AI product for Microsoft. So she does not seem to have a gaming background. Mm-hmm. So that right away, it's. I think if you're an Xbox fan, you get a little back on your heels, a little concerned for the future.
So what do we think about Phil Spencer's time running Xbox? Because when he came in I believe 2014, and he had to sort of right some wrongs, right? There was a whole debacle with the debut of the Xbox One. So he came in at kind of a rough time, but he did a lot of things right over the years. And he seems to be the rare executive that gets it, likes games, gets gamers. And he's done so many things, like first thing, he decoupled the Kinect 2.0 from the Xbox One, bringing the price down $100 to parity with PS4. The whole backwards compatibility initiative is really very gamer friendly. Game Pass was at one time, we would say, the best deal in gaming. It was that for a very long time until they raised the price a little too much, I think. And he also, sort of brought he's finally getting a lot of good games out the door. But along the way, over the years, every single time he seems to have done something good, there was always some sort of debacle right around the corner. Hardware sales for Xbox have completely bottomed out. There have been long droughts with no game releases. The cost of Game Pass has tripled since it was first introduced. We've had disappointing games like Redfall and Starfield. They've shut down beloved and promising studios like Arcane, Tango Gameworks, The Initiative, the canceled Perfect Dark. There's also just long periods of time, like Fable, finally coming out this year, looks good, but was announced in 2020, 6 years ago. So I guess the big question is, as Phil leaves, what state is he leaving Xbox in? Was he good for Xbox and Xbox fans overall?
That's an extremely complicated question that I think you could kind of make a lot of cases for on either side of it. For me, I mean, I've known Phil professionally for a very, very long time. Arguably probably the best thing I've ever done at IGN, if you like any of my work, is Podcast Unlocked episode 201, which we shot the night of one of the days at E3. We shot it at night in 2015. So, wow. Kind of not far into the Xbox One life cycle. And that we had Phil Spencer with Seamus Blackley, the creator of the Xbox back in the early days, and Peter Moore, who had run the Xbox business. So it's kind of three generations of Xbox leaders there. And Phil was incredibly humble during that interview and sort of really spoke from the heart. And that always stuck with me. And Phil's gamer score, is probably higher than most people watching this, including you and I, Damon. Like, he is a legit gamer. Yeah, which you just can't say that about most of the other game industry executives. But you're right. It always seemed like Phil had some hill to climb, and he made some big bets some of them paid off and some of them didn't. You mentioned a lot of the good stuff. I mean, yeah, I think backwards compatibility, which we arguably take for granted now, and we should, because backwards compatibility should be a thing. We should continue to own these games and have access to these games regardless of what generation of hardware we're on. So he deserves so much credit for that. Certainly just trying to band-aid the bullet wound of the Xbox One in the early days with taking the Kinect out of the picture to lower the price. And Game Pass, as you noted, is not without its controversy from the moment of its inception up till now, but has certainly influenced the industry for sure. But at the same point, yeah, it's there pretty much aren't any Xbox exclusives left by Microsoft's own choice. Mm-hmm. As you noted, their hardware sales are just continually trending in the wrong direction. Even though, by the way, Damon, they have great hardware. Like the Series X is awesome.
I agree.
Their controller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like their hardware is great. So it's not for, unlike with the Xbox One, which was measurably less performant than the PS4. Series X is awesome. And the Series S, like, you can love it or hate it, but it was, in hindsight here, probably a wise decision to try and just onboard more people into your new generation of consoles, especially as that has gotten more expensive. But like you said, it's multiple, in fact, basically annual Game Pass price increases to the point where the ultimate tier that gets you day one access to all the new games is $30 a month.
Yep.
Which plenty of people would say, yeah, I get value out of that. Like if you play a ton of games, that's still valuable. But for a lot of people, $30 a month is quite steep. And then the real just kick in the stomach was two hardware price increases last year alone. The Xbox Series X, despite being over 5 years old now, is more expensive by any definition than it was the day it came out, which is crazy because that's just antithetical to how the industry has always operated.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's a really complicated question. And I think I would very, very comfortably say that Phil always meant well. Like he wanted nothing but the best for Xbox, and they really are delivering great games now, but you just don't need an Xbox to play them anymore. And that strategy is arguably because of the failings that happened in the past that's led them to the moment of having to say, all right, well, moving forward, we're going to have to put our stuff on PlayStation and put our stuff everywhere. So history could still look favorably on those decisions. Like, Damon, we see it where like PC gaming is growing and console gaming really isn't.
It's not.
So maybe putting your games anywhere gamers are will in time prove to be the correct decision, the best decision. But for now, yeah, he definitely leaves behind a very complicated legacy, but I'm not sure who else I would have wanted in there. Like at the end of the day, he did make gamer first decisions. They didn't necessarily always work, or maybe in the case of some of these price increases, they were just out of his control. I mean, I know I'm talking for a while here, Damon, but I think the one other thing I want to hit on before I throw it back your way is, I think above all else, the one thing that was probably the point of no return for Phil Spencer, good or bad, and he's retiring, he's not being fired, so we're not saying it's bad, but the point of no return for Phil Spencer and the Phil Spencer era at Xbox, I think was pretty definitively the $69 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard King, because that was such a massive deal, such a huge amount of money that Satya Nadella and the tippy top of Microsoft were now suddenly very interested in what was going on in the gaming division because there was so much money tied up in it and so much money on the line. And, we can't say for sure, did that acquisition lead to the hardware price increases, the Game Pass price increases? There's kind of a lot of potential downstream effects, but I think that's going to be the one that that you could really pinpoint as the key moment of all the good things, all the things, good or bad, that Phil Spencer did in his time, it's the Activision deal that will kind of be at the top of his career epitaph, if you will. He's very much alive. We wish him well.
Yeah. Yeah, it really such an interesting situation, because for every good decision he made, something bad happened, whether it was directly he was put to blame or not. And then as he leaves, I don't know, the Xbox business, I think, has actually been doing pretty well in recent years, largely due to Game Pass and to publishing.
Right. We talk not the hardware, but
not the hardware, but yes, just the business, just making money through all their different methods. We talk a lot about Next Gen Console Watch, about how Forza Horizon 5 was a huge hit on PlayStation 5, 4 years after it was originally released. So I think the business, just in terms of making money, has actually been doing pretty well, but he was not able to reverse hardware sales, and he wasn't able to reverse the public perception of the brand within gamers. Like, there's just not nearly as much like love for the Xbox brand out there as there was during the 360 generation. But let's talk about go ahead.
That's undisputable.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, it's there's no, I don't think anybody would disagree with you on that.
So let's talk about who's coming in now to run Xbox. Asha Sharma doesn't seem to have any gaming experience, but is a business person. Do you think there's anything to be said that they brought in a gamer and he wasn't able to sort of fix those problems? So let's get someone who's not a gamer, maybe someone who's a little bit more business minded, and then make sure Matt Booty's there to sort of help with the gaming decisions. What do you think?
Well, I definitely think you've hit it head on with the Matt Booty piece of this, promoting him and really elevating him to be the clear number 2 to Asha. I think that's very intentional, and it's a very much it's trying to instill a vote of confidence to the gamers, to the gaming public, because Asha Sharma does not have a gaming background in business. And so, yeah, I think that's probably wise. I mean, Matt's been running studios for a while now under Phil. And as you noted at the top, Damon, the studios have finally been delivering. Microsoft started buying studios to fix the first-party game problem that they created themselves by mismanaging a lot of their studios and a lot of their franchises in the Xbox One era. So 2018 is when those acquisitions started. The likes of Playground, Obsidian, Double Fine, InXile, the list goes on. And it's really only been, as you noted, Damon, some stuff out of their control. The pandemic, which caused a ton of game delays for everybody, not just Microsoft, a lot of sort of downstream effects of that. And it's really just been, I would say, since the fall of 2024, so a little less than a year and a half now, that Microsoft has actually shipped not just a few good games, a whole lot of games, and most of them, almost all of them, really good. Flight Simulator 2024, whether it's your cup of tea or not, awesome. Stalker 2 was a third-party exclusive. Indiana Jones and The Great Circle, that was my vote for Game of the Year for 2024. I still think it's the best game that Xbox Game Studios has shipped in quite a while. And then last year with Avowed and Grounded 2, you can make quite a list here. And in fact, there is a big list on IGN.com in my article, but it's the software is there. And so I think it's good to try and position Matt Booty as this gaming industry veteran at the right hand of Asha. And so to circle back to the answer to your question, Damon, about, well, we tried a gamer as the boss and that hasn't quite worked out the way that maybe a lot of people had hoped. So, is the non-gamer the solution? I don't think I would look at it that way, but instead I would look at it more of, we tried the longtime company man who knows the Xbox business, and let's bring in some fresh blood. I think it's more about a fresh perspective than about her gaming background or not. Now, the AI thing is concerning. Like, it's obviously concerning given her background. Is not just at Microsoft most recently, but at Meta before that with the AI stuff. I think you have the statement there, Damon, the email that was sent out, which we had in our article. There were several emails, and we have them all on IGN. There's one from Satya Nadella, there's one from Phil Spencer, there's one from Asha Sharma, and there is another one from Matt Booty. And I think you have it there. She's saying a lot of the right stuff, a lot of the what should at least sound like what we want to hear.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up for sure. So first, she says she's making 3 commitments. And first of all is that's to great games. Okay, that sounds good. Say focus on games. But then she says, this is so interesting. We will recommit to our core Xbox fans and players, those who have invested with us for the past 25 years. What does that mean to you? Recommitting to core Xbox fans? I think... I want to give her the benefit of the doubt, right? But I've been around this thing a long time, and my knee-jerk reaction is that that's corporate speak for saying nothing but like making you feel good with however you interpret that very vague statement. I want to give her the benefit of the doubt. So the optimist case for that would be that they're going to lock in on hardware, and we're going to get a great piece of next-gen hardware. The probably unrealistic interpretation of that would be, we're going to start making games exclusive again to our console to get you to come to our platform. And could that happen? Yes, because Microsoft could stop putting games on PlayStation tomorrow. But the toothpaste might be out of the tube on that. I don't know. When you're running a for-profit business that has to satisfy shareholders, and as you wisely noted, Damon, you sell 5 million plus copies of a 3.5, 4-year-old game on another platform. Well, your Satya Nadellas and your shareholders are probably going to want you to keep doing that. So I don't quite know what to make of that part of her statement. I agree, it sounds great, but the proof will be in the pudding on that. There's been so many questions about the future of Xbox hardware in recent years because their hardware business is just in the gutter. But they have said they are working on new hardware that even they've been as specific as saying it's going to be a very premium, high-end device, and there are rumors that it's going to be this very open PC-like console. But people still think there's a question: will Xbox abandon the hardware market? But then another part of her comment here, one of her commitments is a renewed commitment to Xbox starting with console. So there it is. Does that sort of instill confidence that they are not going to abandon the console business?
It does. And what I would say to give her a lot of credit there is that's a pretty specific statement versus the one we were just talking about, which is a little bit more vague. So that she specifically mentions console, which should reassure anybody. I think it reassures me that yes, hardware plans are continuing as scheduled, and the next machine will come out, and it will probably be, as all word around the campfire is that it's going to be a sort of a hybrid gaming PC and console that allows you to connect to Steam and other storefronts. So that is reassuring, because there's a world where a new CEO, a new head of Xbox comes in and says, you know what, our hardware sales are in the toilet here. Let's just do what we're doing with the Asus ROG Ally. Let's just let Asus or Lenovo or somebody build the next Xbox for us, and or whoever wants to build one, and call it, let them use the name Xbox. So that seems like she's specifically saying that's not what's going to happen here.
And then this final quote from her email that she sent out to the company, I think is super interesting, given the fact that she's the president of Microsoft's core AI product. And she says, "We will not treat those worlds as static IP to milk and monetize. We will not chase short-term efficiency or flood our ecosystem with soulless AI slop," which is, I think that's a pretty interesting thing for the president of an AI company to say.
Well, I'm glad she said it, because that is when you read the headline, the headline here, other than Phil retiring, is AI executive takes over Xbox as head of Xbox.
Yeah.
That is not a headline that's going to make a lot of gamers feel good. And so I think it's important that she clearly laid that out, and I'm glad she did. And what I can tell you here, Damon, that's not in my piece, because that was just a pretty straight news piece there, just reporting what's going on. My sources do say that there has been zero pressure, zero mandate for AI to be involved or be a part of the gaming division and the game creation process. Like there are a couple studios that use AI like within their workflows to like for bug checking and things like that. But in terms of games that are made by humans, my sources say that is very much going to continue. There's been Asha has not come in and said, well, we're going to just start using AI to accelerate development and make games. That is, I have it on good sourced authority that is not happening.
Well, this is just a seismic shift in the management of Xbox. It's not just a rearrangement of the pieces on the table. It's knocking the two biggest pieces off, bringing someone new in to run the whole thing. There's a lot to digest here that we'll be discussing over the coming weeks. But Ryan, what's your sort of final takeaway? The future of Xbox. Give us your bear case and your bull case.
Bear case is that this is a controlled demolition of the Xbox brand by Satya Nadella. That he wants to wind it down entirely, or maybe just wind it down into a software business, as most of Microsoft is. The bull case is that fresh blood will come in and have some new ideas and have some just a new perspective, and that this next Xbox console will actually prove to meet gamers where they are, which is in a growing PC market, and gamers want to play on whatever platform, whatever storefront, and that the Xbox game studios, whether it's Microsoft itself, Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard, that they'll continue pumping out on a regular cadence as they've been here for the last year plus. They'll continue pumping out great games, and that Xbox will, and I'm not saying it's gonna overtake Sony. That's not gonna happen, but that it might reestablish itself as a place as an ecosystem that you do want to be gaming inside of. So I think those are the two extremes. The truth, Damon, usually lands somewhere in the middle of that, but the next 2, 3, 4 years we'll tell. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, starting Monday, February 23rd, a new era at Xbox will begin. This is a huge change. Definitely going to be one of the biggest gaming news stories of the year. Dear viewers, we want to know how you're feeling about all this. First, I want to know how do you think Phil Spencer's tenure at Xbox went? How do you feel about the company as he's leaving it? Is he leaving it in a better place than when he found it? And how are you feeling about the future of Xbox? Make sure to let us know in the comments. And for all things video games and Xbox, make sure you stick around to IGN.